Mary Shaw. Oh, thank you for, yeah. Ovidio, maybe you can make also Mary co-host if that's possible. So support and for any support we might need and admitted participants. It's great. We have 138, 140 participants. It's 5:30 in the afternoon. So thank you so much for joining today. I'm gonna start sharing the screen. And let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So, so Vidi was saying, one of the facilitators of the Institute for Collaborative Learning, and that's my information. I will share the information at the end of the session too, in case you would like to contact us. Our social media or send us an email or WhatsApp message. So the topic for today is identifying some small steps that transform EFL teaching. And I'm gonna start showing these are the 5 small steps we'll be talking about today. So I'm gonna give you a few seconds just so you can read the slide with the 5 steps. So we'll be talking about what the learner will be doing. Imagine what the learner will be doing in the classroom when we're lesson planning, designing impactful tasks, what to take into account when we're designing tasks, and then how we use the lesson plan, and responding with curiosity to what is happening in class, and also a good reminder to reflect on the lesson plan, and the lesson plan isn't just before the lesson. So I'm going to start with these questions, and I would love to open for a couple of minutes, maybe open the mic and use the chat. I see you are very active in the chat, and I'm very impressed. So you see people actually using the chat in Zoom. So what is something small that you do that you think it makes a big difference in your students' learning? This is Laura, is one of our facilitators. And what I see she's doing, she goes down to see, like be at the same level of the students, be in the student's eye, and then talk to the students and have a conversation about what she's doing. So that's one small thing Laura does, and I have observed Laura doing this with young learners. So I'd like to maybe a couple of participants, they can open the mic or you can share in the chat. What is one small thing that makes a difference in your students when they're learning? Oh, I see Alejandra adapting the contents to the context. That's beautiful. Yes. And a good rapport, Melissa. Yeah, and motivation, Areca from Nicaragua. Jorge, the relationship that you have with your students. That's very useful. Yoselin, I see your hand is up. Yoselin, would you like to open your mic and also share? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Jocelyn. And something I consider really important I do in classes and I consider makes a huge difference. It's praise my students. Even for those small things that they do, I let them know that they are trying and they are achieving goals. And believe it or not, that makes a big difference in the way they perceive or they try to do their assignments or tasks.
Right. Yeah, it's beautiful just to observe and find good things in students and acknowledge, right, what they're doing. That's so beautiful. I'm enjoying the chat, and I'm recommending you can also read the chat because you have a lot of great ideas, a lot of good practices. Encourage them to motivate and continue. Yeah, positive mind, investigate experimental activities, helping when they feel sad and they are not able to reproduce a sound. That's beautiful. Lots of support and lots of great ideas. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's so amazing. Yeah. Yeah, Lucia Cotto, I asked them what they would like to do today. Oh, that's beautiful. Taking into account what students, how students are arriving and then say, what would you like to do today? And then let's go with that. Yeah, it's beautiful. Maybe I have a plan, but what about if students want to do something differently? That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a great idea. Thank you. I'm going to move on. And I'm going to start with the first small step. So I will be, do you remember how many steps I have on the slides for today?
5.
5, right? 5. So this is the first one. So the first one has to do in the pre-planning or planning at the same time. It could be pre-planning or planning. Is I imagine what the learner will be doing or saying or not doing or not saying. So it's like having a movie in my head, right? Of what students, what I'm planning saying, oh, students will be doing this and then that. And then at the end, they will be doing that. So let's say I'm planning a lesson and I see students on the left, the students having so much fun, right? Say at the end of the lesson, students will be able to have a conversation about something, retelling a story, and then they will be having so much fun. So I see that in the pre-planning stage or what planning in the lesson. So I have that picture. So I imagine what the learner will be doing, not what the teacher will be doing, what the learner, what the students will be doing in class or at every stage of the class. And that includes these 4 different elements. There's 3 on this slide, and there will be 1 more on this following slide. So it's our 3 ideas: perspective taking, empathy, and creating or watching a movie. So perspective taking is I see what is happening. I see everything. I see the whole picture, the whole movie, what is happening. And I understand why this is happening or it's not happening. So I take that perspective and I see everything, every single detail. When I'm planning the lesson, I see students moving, working in small groups, working in a large group. And this applies to online teaching or face-to-face teaching. And with empathy is I connect with what students are living. And because I know my students, I get to know my students, so I know that Donai will be challenging for her to use a different app on online teaching. She uses a telephone to take the classes. And then she's not, like moving from one screen to the other screen is challenging for her. So I understand. So when I'm planning the lesson, I understand and I connect to what she's living. And I plan the lesson thinking and taking into account the experiences of my students. So they will be experiencing in class. And the other thing is, as I was saying earlier, so I create this movie and I watch the movie. And then I carefully watch the movie. It's each step the students are taking. And then I recreate the lesson plan and say, okay, I got it. So in this case, I love this picture because it's just having so much fun, right? Say, oh, students will be doing this. And I picture a task and I say, okay, great. Or say, no, I rewind and say, no, this is not, I'm gonna make some changes here in the plan. And so these are 3 elements to be taken into account when I think about, imagine what the students will be doing. And then 1 more is the teaching framework I use when I teach. And there are many different teaching frameworks. And I love this teaching framework, and it's one of the teaching frameworks we use with different courses, TESOL courses or different courses we offer at the Institute for Collaborative Learning is ECRIF. And this is by Mary Scholl. And this is a way of looking at how students learn. So this is student-centered perspective. So I can see what students would be doing. So the way I plan a lesson using this teaching framework is I start with the last stage, which is fluent use. As you can see, first students encounter, clarify, remember, internalize, and then use the target language. This is not a linear framework, but it's a way it is organized. So it sounds that students might be remembering the target language, but at the same time encountering the target language. So when I start planning the lesson using this teaching framework, and by the way, you will be receiving a handout on information on ECRIF. If this is the first time you hear about ECRIF, there will be a website and a PDF document for you to read more and explore more about this teaching framework. So when I start planning a lesson using this teaching framework, the first thing I do is, what is the fluent use task? What will students be doing at the end of the lesson? And then once I have this fluency activity, when I see and I picture, I have this movie of students doing this, saying this, using the target language or the target structure in class. And then when I have that activity, I can go backward, because I already have an idea what the final project will be, and I understand what the needs will be. I mean, what students need to do or complete to reach the objective of the lesson, which is students will be able to use the target language in a conversation in a small group or in pairs or in group of 3. So this is very important. So I have this video, this image in my mind, in my head, what students will be doing. So the focus is students. So I am thinking about students, and when I use a teaching framework, I also thinking about students. So this is the first small step. Let's move on to the second one. So when I'm designing tasks, I'm also thinking about what is a task? What kind of task I need to bring to class? And what's the cycle? I mean, what I'm gonna do first? I already have a task. So once with students, what am I gonna be doing with students? What's gonna be first, next, and last? So in these 2 pictures I have for online and face-to-face, you see the teacher on the left, on my left of the screen, like holding like a picture. So it's given this is the task, and it's giving instructions. And this is part of the task cycle. And on the left, on the right of my screen, it's an online class. So as I was saying, this is applicable to online teaching and also face-to-face. So these are two ideas on the task. So when I design tasks, I take these 3 elements into account. There might be more, but just only 3 elements here is, if the task is interactive, how much interaction is there when students are completing this task? If the task is useful, the language in the task is useful, all the type of task is useful. So students outside the class will be using that language. Or they finding that it's not only meaningful, but useful in class. Say, I love this because this language, I can use this language in my daily life, at work, at school, when traveling, so I can use this language. And the type of task is on the left below characteristics. It's an online class, and this is for children, for young learners. And then you can see the type of pictures. It is for young learners. So if I were teaching adults, that might be different, might be the similar topic, but with different type of pictures, because it has to be useful and meaningful for students. And doable, they can do it in class. So the level of complexity is not that big that students can do it. There might be some challenge, because that's part of the learning, but they can do it without 3 characteristics. And the task cycle is, what am I doing before the task? How I'm gonna show instructions or give instructions? Am I using visuals? What different learning perspectives I'm using when giving instructions? It's a verbal, with visuals, maybe with slides, and then written words or instructions on the slides. And how am I doing this? I giving space all at once, or I'm chunking the instructions, and I'm giving space between instructions. In this picture, it's me giving instructions. I love giving instructions with space. So I chunk into pieces, and I say one piece, and I give space. And then in the following chunk, and I give it space. And at the end, I check instructions. So I use concept checking instructions to see how much students know, and they're clear to go and do the task. And maybe during the task, I'm observing what students are doing and saying, and learning, reflecting, say, oh, that's great, it's working. Oh no, it's not working. Oh no, they're doing something differently. And then a post task is, They go back, maybe they were in small groups and they go back to the large classroom or the large room, whether online or face-to-face. And then we have a conversation about the experience. How was that for you? What do you learn about each other? What else would you like to add? So it's just reflecting. So when I design tasks, I think about what characteristics I need to include in designing and what do I need to take into account when assigning the task, completing the task, and after the task is complete. So that was the second small step. Let's move on to the next one. So this is a really interesting and new idea for me. It's just to remember that the plan is just a map. It's not the experience. It's not what students will be doing exactly. It's just an idea of what students will be doing. So the question here is, how can we create a map that will give us flexibility in the classroom and not force to take just one road? There's only one way to do it, right? And if I'm thinking and coming to class with a plan, you know, I spend, maybe sometimes I spend 2 or 3 hours for 1 hour class. And then I realized that something was different in class. Things are different. So go different direction. Things are not working the way I planned. And I had a video and a picture in my mind that what students would be doing at each stage of the class. And then at the end, what they would be doing, but something goes different direction. So how can I be aware and flexible and accept what is? Let me give you a couple of examples and ideas here. So what can I do when what is happening in the classroom is just different than what I planned? So this is a clear example of online teaching, and it might happen here right now. Internet is unstable. I asked the students to install an app because we'll be using an app in class, and I send a message, a reminder, I send tutorials, I send audios. And then the day of the class, when I'm excited about 2 or 3 activities with the same app, we'll be experiencing technology. Oh, they didn't install the app in class. And that was my first activity of the class was about using the app. Oh no, what can I do now? So that, thank you. So I was saying, these are 3 ideas to take into account. So one idea is just to be present. Just bring presence, your presence, and see what's going on. And just observe what's going on. And connect to what you are feeling and experiencing. Because in this case, I'm going to take this example. My internet is unstable. I'm teaching. And my internet, I want to share the screen and say, teacher is black. It's black, teacher. Teacher, are you there? You're frozen. Oh my God. So, and I have slides. And I want to use the slides because I have listening or reading and have reading the text on the slides. And my internet is unstable. I just need to be present and be aware of what's going on here outside. I see my internet and I see the message say internet is unstable. I say, okay, I see a message saying that my internet is unstable and I'm worried. Now, inside of me, I'm worried. I'm frustrated, so frustrated because I want to do this. I want to do my job. My internet's not working today, unfortunately. Yeah. And then I see options. What options do I have? It's not just only one way. There might be other ways. But if I am present and connected to what is inside of me, and I see what is outside of me, I can see options. If I am not present and frustrated, might not be able to see the options, other options for students. Right? So it's very important. So The lesson plan is just a map. It's not the experience. It's not what students will be experiencing. And there are many different factors, right? And one thing is the students, another thing is the teacher. It might be technology. It might be the document. I was in a class, observing a class, and the teacher had a document, a handout. And then he was looking and looking for the handout on the computer. He couldn't find it. And he said maybe he deleted it. He couldn't find it. And that was a handout for the task, for the class. So it's very important. So the lesson plan is just a map. It's not the experience. It's not students' interaction. So it might go different direction, and I need to be present and connect to what I experience at the moment that things go different direction, and then breathe and see what other options I have. That was number 3. Number 4 is respond with curiosity to what students are saying or doing. These are 2 short stories. The picture on the left is my youngest daughter. She was in a class, Grace is her name. She was in a class and the teacher created this with a plastic spoon to have a conversation. It was to have different conversation with classmates. And she was just into the toy. Then for her, it was a new toy. She didn't have any conversation. We just with a toy, and she was just asking, can I take it home? Can I take it home? Can I take it home? So, and how do I respond to that? I'm the teacher, and the idea is then you have a conversation with a small group or different classmates, go around and have conversations using the character. And then the second one on the left, on the right, I was in a session. It was online session. And the 4 people with the cameras are the facilitators. We were co-facilitator. And we were asking participants to turn on the camera, turn on the camera, turn on the camera, turn on the camera. It was a 2-hour session, at least for 1 hour. We were asking participants to turn on the cameras. That didn't happen because we had some games and we needed to see face to play the games. So, but how do I respond with curiosity to what is going on in class, to what students are saying or not saying, to what students are doing or not doing? So instead of blaming and judging myself, what do I do? So again, this is beautiful. Again, presence is also useful here. I need to be present and connect to what I'm experiencing. Students are not doing this. Students are not using the target language. Students are doing something different. So I'm present, I'm connecting what I'm experiencing, and I'm inviting curiosity as a first response. I'm not saying here judging or blaming it's right or good or wrong, good or bad. I'm saying I also judge students. I also judge myself. I also blame myself. Why you didn't do this, Ivan? Why you're pushing too much? I'm blaming myself, right? But also I try to cultivate this and invite curiosity as a first response. Say, what's going on here with Grace? Oh, interesting. Or with the students on online, what's going on with students not turning on the cameras? It was in the evening. So thinking with curiosity, I'm guessing, using curiosity, saying maybe they are taking care of their kids because they were adults. So maybe they are cooking. Maybe they're just tired after work and then they're taking this section, you know. Maybe, I don't know, but just curiosity, right? Saying and understand what's going on. So with this idea, with presence, connecting to the experience and inviting curiosity as first response, I also move away from the right or wrong perspective, or good or bad. I'm a good teacher. I'm a bad teacher. These students are really bad students. They're not good students, I know. I know you're not good students. You won't be successful. That's a good or bad perspective. And that's painful. That's painful for the students and that's painful for the teacher too. So it's, how do I respond when something is what is. So accept what is, invite curiosity, and try to understand what's going on inside of the students. What's going on inside of the students, right? The more I get to know students, the more I understand what's going on inside of students. So building up this connection and relationship with students is key. Because it's not only, I'm gonna be curious, and that's okay, what's going on? I need to also guess what's going on, right? With curiosity, not with blame and judgment or punishment. All right, so, and then one last step, and then we're gonna have a conversations in small groups and then in large group. This is very important too. All 5 are important to me. Remember to reflect. Lesson planning isn't just before the lesson. Lesson planning is a process, and it goes beyond the delivering the lesson. It's not, I completed a template. It's just maybe completed a template or the lesson plan, or maybe the shopping list, whatever format you use. That's one step, but that's not the end of lesson planning. Lesson planning is more than completing, typing, collecting resources, materials, or downloading electronic resources. It goes beyond that. So these are some ideas. So after delivering a lesson or after completing facilitating a section like this. So one thing I do is I reflect. Sometimes I don't have enough time to go to the computer and type or write. Sometimes I just do it verbally, but I reflect what's going on inside of me. Now I've just finished this lesson. Whew, that was difficult for students. Oh my God. I thought it was going to be an easy reading task, but it was challenging. I don't know, maybe it was the vocabulary, maybe it was the grammar, maybe it was the students, it was the questions, it was confusing. They never got what the reading was all about. And how am I feeling? What do I need more of at this moment when I'm thinking about what happened in class tonight? So it's very important. I have this just after finishing the class, maybe taking a few minutes, a couple of minutes, or maybe 5 minutes, depending on how much time I have and what I use. Maybe I love using Google Docs or notes or Word documents, or whatever you use, or a notebook. And then you write some ideas about how you are feeling about what happened in class. Another thing is making interpretations and generalizations of the experience. And this is about the experience, not about the lesson plan. This is about the experience. What happened? What do I notice? What helped the students learning? I see, wow, in the small groups, it was great to have conversations or the instructions. The space I gave between chunks when I was giving instruction really helped students to clarify what the task was about. So in breakout rooms, I saw them. They were, speaking and fluently using the language. That was beautiful to see. That helped students learning also. Okay, so I need to include more space and divide instructions in chunks so it's clear for students and easy for students to complete tasks. So that's a generalization I'm making. So what hindered learning? What wasn't working in class? So students didn't install the app. So they didn't complete the task. I had Kahoot. I have an activity in Kahoot and they didn't have access to the Kahoot app. I was hindered in learning because that was a very important task in the lesson. And what does it mean for me? So what's the message behind this that was happening in class? And then the action plan. What would I do differently next time I'm teaching and I'm planning to use an app? What other options I have that is easier for students to do it? How do I know that? So I would love to get to know students more, so I understand what apps they can use and what resources they have access to. I'm gonna end these 5 steps with this story. I was teaching a grammar lesson to, I think it's a 6th graders. And so at the end of the lesson, that was the picture. At the end of the lesson, students, as you can see, that was in the evening. That was a night class. So at the end of the lesson, the structure was present continuous, was a grammar lesson. So at the end of the lesson, students will be able to go around home, different rooms, and see what people were doing at home at that moment, and report what people are doing. So you will be able to go around your house and see what 4 people are doing in home, and then come back and report. But I was doing this. You can start with your parents first. Go and see what your father and your mother are doing, and then see if there's any other family member at home, because that was the idea of describing parents, right? And then in that moment, Angel is the students at the bottom. You see his face? I screenshot that. That was beautiful to see that. He say, I have a problem. Wait, don't go, because they have to go around the house. I have a problem, and this is a big problem. I was like, what's going on, Angel? I was thinking about what happened. He said, I don't have a father. He left me. He doesn't love me. He hates me. And I don't have a mother either. I live with my grandparents. And then he was telling his story. And then I saw tears coming up. And I was connected to what was happening. And then after the lesson, I was reflecting about the importance of connection before education. So the fluency activity ended up into conversations about family members. Thank you so much. And we're gonna move on to the next part of the session. Ovidio, I have one question for you. These are the 5 small steps I was talking about. And then we're gonna have breakout rooms. And I don't know if you would like to take a screenshot, the participants, if you would like to take a screenshot of this. But also Ovidio will be sharing the questions in the chat, in the Zoom chat. And he will also be broadcasting the questions. Ovidio, how many minutes? Are you ready with the breakout rooms, Ovidio?
Yes, I'm planning to give 7 minutes, and since participant last time said that it was too short, now what we're doing is putting less people or fewer people in each of the breakout rooms. That's good. Yeah. So
let me just give you some instructions. So you have 3 questions. You can start with any of the 3 questions. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3. You can start with number 3 or number 2. And then if you have time to do 2 questions, that's great. 1 question is great. 2 questions are great. So the idea is you have conversations about these 5 small steps. And then after breakout rooms, we're going to have a conversation about your conversations and your takeaways of the session today. So please take a screenshot, if possible, of this slide. And Ovidio will be sharing later the slides and handout. We have a handout for you too. And these are the 3 questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivan. Now, this is what is going to happen. You will see on your screen a message inviting you to join one of the breakout rooms. So please do it. And we will be jumping in and out the breakout rooms just to see how things are going. Once again, I will I will be broadcasting the questions just in case you did not have time to take a screenshot. So we'll just provide you with that information. All right, well, let's do it. Now you should see a message on your screen inviting you to join the breakout rooms. Good, some people are already joining, great.
Conversation with it's about the lesson plan according to the El Salvador. For me, it's my personal opinion. It's like similar, not exactly, but very interesting because the when I hear the map, very nice, because yeah, the lesson plan is a map, very interesting because it's very nice.
Thank you so much for sharing. Ivan, I think we're all back.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back. We would love to hear a few participants about your conversation. I was able to be in a couple of breakout rooms. It was a great conversations about what was challenging. Which one was the most challenging for you, of the 5 steps? Hey, Sandra, it's great to see your face.
Good to see you, Ivan.
Yeah. All right, so let's see, what would you like to share? How was the conversation in your breakout rooms, and what is, maybe you can answer one of the 3 questions, so maybe just share a takeaway or comment or questions you have about what I was talking about today. Okay, Jose Torres. Why is Jose raise his hand? Oh, Aida. Aida.
Okay, hi. I was sharing with my group, and one of the things, I mean, you know, like the 5 steps should be the ones that we all should must be very interested to do in our class. But there was one in particular, and it's one that I have been trying to exercise, I would say, and it's this number 4 about curiosity. I think I learned this in one of Mary's webinars. So, yeah, and she talked about when a student does not respond, going back to the online classes. And then when you mentioned that you ask your students, can you open your camera? Can you say something in the microphone? And people never, you know, replied. And at the very beginning, I used to get really mad. Like, come on, people, I'm just trying to be the most energetic here. I just want you to say something, and you're doing anything. There was some days when I was really frustrated, but eventually I was like, okay, so if nobody wants to talk, it's okay. But, you know, at that moment, I was still angry. I mean, I was saying that if nobody wants to talk, it's okay, but just to, you know, find a response to whatever was happening on the other side. But I was still feeling mad. Once I joined this webinar with Mary, she talked about, okay, think about, probably they are having problems with the internet. Maybe they are struggling with a sick relative in the house. I mean, there will be many aspects that sometimes we do not consider, and we just start creating stories in our mind, right? Yeah, so I think it's number 5 is the one that I'm trying to exercise recently. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aida. It's beautiful. Yeah, also acknowledging how you are feeling. Frustrated, unhappy. It's very important to validate my experience and accept how this experience is in me, what is alive inside of me, and also responding with curiosity. We just experienced with a video, so I decided to stay in the main room. There were around, I don't know, 10, 15 participants, and I shared the screen, and I said, how about we have this as a breakout room? Let's see. And we waited for, I don't know, a couple of minutes. And I told a video, oh, I'm experiencing this and I'm applying this idea. But they say like the importance of getting to know participants. I asked a video, so what do you think is going on in the video? Say, well, it sounds like some of them are just driving back home and they're in the car. And then somebody wrote in the chat, I'm in the bus. So that's beautiful. So go in and try to guess with curiosity, with genuine curiosity, what's going on inside of the students. Thank you, Aida. All right, who would like to go next? I mean, you can write your question or comment in the chat, or you can open your mic.
I like to share about designing impactful tasks. I was thinking that designing tasks for beginners will be challenging, and also for advanced students, because sometimes we think about one task, but it doesn't match to advanced or beginners, and it can be more interactive, and it will be impactful for the student, but if it doesn't match for the level I'm teaching, it won't work.
Right, there are many different characteristics and elements to take into account, Jacqueline, right? One of them is the level of students, right? The level of English, the performance, right? Right, and the skills also, what skills they want to practice. That's great, thank you. Adding to the, yeah, as I said, the three characteristics are not all of them, so you can add more. And I hope you have access to a slide so you can reuse them and use them and bring these ideas and put it into practice in your classroom. Juan, now you're back, Juan.
Hi, how are you doing? So thank you again, for inviting us. So just I would say that at the moment of preparing your lesson plan, so you had to know your students. So the first time, sometimes it's difficult because you don't know the different, let's say, learning styles that they have. So, and let me tell you one specific case that happens to me. I was organizing my class, so I had the attendance list and the number one. So I was sitting in chair number one and so on. So I said, oh my God, I said this one would be nice. So Jose would be in chair number 1 and 2 and 3, etc. But guess what? So there were some students that for some reasons, of course, they were not able to listen properly and they were at the back, or some of them, they had difficulties by seeing, the smart board that I was using it. So what I had to do, at the very moment, it was, of course, to rearrange the way how I was putting my students, and then, of course, continue with the development of the class. So it is important to take into account, let's say, any disability that students they may have. So that would be my participation.
Thank you, Juan. It's so important to get to know students. And you know what? When you started the question, the sharing your story, Juan, I was also thinking about what if this is the first day of class and I don't know the students and I'm creating this lesson plan that is just a map and I don't know the students, but I had the intention is to get to know students. So one thing we do at this Institute for Collaborative Learning is to do community builders. On the first stations, we get to know about each other. So intentionally, we bring activities, and then we get to know about each other. So we're not focusing on one particular skill, but it's just want to get to know about each other. So it's what is something I'm getting from students and the students I'm getting from the teacher with this activity. So we build up this relationship with, go deep in connecting with students, right? As I was saying, connection before education. So I was thinking about that one. Thank you. Freddy Marquez.
Hello, Ivan, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's been a long time since the conference.
Right.
And well, the Congress, right? And then I wanted to mention something that you said in the breakout room about less is more, right? And obviously, not everybody has the chance to reduce the number of activities or to increase the amount of time that we're teaching. But for those who can, actually, that's something to keep in mind, that in the end, it's not how much information we're transferring or conveying to students, but how we're making them feel, right? So something that I usually teach when I'm working with, let's say, future English teachers, is that I tell them, okay, you have to remember those teachers that have caused a positive impact in your life, right, in your learning life. And it sounds like a cliche, right? But we should be the teachers we would have liked to have when we were students. So if we think about it when we're planning our lessons, probably it will be easier to come up with ideas that will be meaningful when we're giving the classes. So that's what I wanted to say. So thank you so much for this session. And hopefully we're going to have many more to keep on learning and kind of bringing all those things that we have already learned in the past and for some reason we have forgotten. So it's nice to be here. So
it's
best
great.
wishes to everybody.
Thank you, Freddie. It's great to see you, and thank you. Yeah, two things, Freddie, is you're right. It's not about information or knowledge, it's about experience, right? It's how students experience. So it's not about knowledge and information, it's about students experiencing language in class. So that's very key, and thank you, Freddie, for sharing. I see it's the hour, but I just want to read a couple of chat, if possible, right? Participants are reading. Lucia says, most of the time I have plan B. That's a good idea to have plan B. So some teachers I heard they have plan B, C, D, just in case, well prepared. But that takes time. That's the only thing in planning, it takes time. Yeah. And then Milton Velasquez says, is the last chat I read, I find step number 5 very attractive. Reflecting about the planning before and after a class, when I have to teach, let's say, the comparative, and I have to do it with 2 groups of classes, one after the other, I sometimes get an odd feeling that I'm just repeating myself in the second attempt. So by reflecting on the planning after a class might enable me to come up with something rather new or innovative that turns the lesson more appealing to the students and give a feeling of new to me and not just the repeating myself. That's a great experience, and thank you so much for sharing, Milton, your experiences, and you're reflecting on step number 5. So I'm gonna pass it over to Ovidio, but I'm gonna express my gratitude to Teachers App and all the teachers, all the 200 teachers attending the session today. And I understand we have recordings, we have a YouTube channel, and maybe I can share a video just for the last time. I can share my contact information, I4CL, in case anyone would like to contact us or follow us on Instagram or Facebook. That would be fantastic, or send me an email and I will share more information about what we do. So video, there is a handout on teaching EQUIF also. Pass it over to you, Video.
Thank you so much, Ivan, and thank you, dear participants, for being here until the end of the session. We have definitely reviewed some of the points that we might have seen before, but with the time, we tend to forget. Ivan, thank you so much for all the effort you put into the bringing of these ideas all together. On behalf of the Teachers App Initiative, I want to say thank you with this e-certificate. I know it's very little compared to all the effort you have put into bringing and putting all this session together. So thank you. Before we finish, remember that we have some announcements all the time. So one of them is that you don't have to forget completing the attendance form. it is to record your attendance, but also for us to get some feedback. We're always looking for ways to improve the way we deliver these sessions, and it really matters to us what you think. Also remember that e-certificates will be issued to those of you attending the module. Next module is next month. I will share with you some key information for the next session. Also remember to check on our social media. We are posting videos, we're posting materials. Also remember that we have a website where you can find sources, including the presentation and including the readings that Ivan has shared with us. So always keep an eye on our website. Next webinar session is going to be on communicative language teaching. This is going to take place on April the 18th, same time. You need to pre-register. How do you do that? You go into our website and look for the information. As always, it is a great pleasure to have such a wonderful teachers app community here. Announcements. We are opening our component number 3 of the initiative, which is English for Tourism. It's basically ESP, English for Specific Purposes. Want to know more about this? Go into our website and check for that information. Also, Sandra is hosting the social emotional health component. So join her in this series of sessions. I know that a lot of you do it. If you haven't, keep an eye on this one and also check for, also join those sessions, because I have heard they are wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Remember that we are the Teachers App Initiative funded by the U.S. Embassy in El Salvador, and we deliver all these sessions with the support of Escuela Superior de Economía. Now stay here because we want to take some cool pictures and later share them. Sandra, are you over here so that you can help us with the pictures? Just let me
I'm ready with my fingers. So hello, Mary. Hello, Ivan. Thank you for being here. Such an honor. So if you want to be famous, please turn on your cameras. If you see, I attended a webinar with from I4CL, an institution that we have so much in our hearts. So here's the first, I have like 3 or 4 screens. So this is the first picture, smile, 3, 2, 1. And as Gerardo always says, it says, keep smiling because you never know where the screen you'll be. So here's the other one, 3, 2, 1, cheese. And one more, yes. And yes. Wow, we have so many participants today. I'm so happy. Yes, Ivan, you made us very, very, very famous today with your webinar. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We got all the pictures.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Ivan and Mary, for supporting us. It is such a great contribution in the development of teaching competencies. We know we have been in the field for a couple of years, but there is always something new something out there that we still need to learn. So thank you so much, everybody.
Well, you complete your attendance. Send some love to Mary and Ivan, please. Maybe your heart or how you feel. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you all. You are doing an amazing. And I love seeing everything that Teachers Up is doing. It's really awesome. So congratulations and thanks for inviting Yvonne and for letting me come too. It's nice.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, great opportunity to collaborate. I4CL and Teachers App. It's a great alliance. Thank you for the opportunity to collaborate and be with teachers, with 200 teachers from everywhere in Central America. So thank you for the opportunity. All right, so good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night. So good to see you.
It was so great to see you there.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hi, Ovidio. I just want to ask you something.
It's because I saw that we don't receive a diploma if we don't have, I mean, the first webinars, right? But I missed the first one because I didn't receive the link, and I was looking in all my email and I never received it. And then I checked it in the Facebook, and I saw the webinar already passed, and then, my gosh. And now like, because I was expecting the first webinar, and I don't know what happened, but I didn't receive the link in my email. And I always, all the time, I receive the link. But sometimes I don't know what happened
Don't
with
worry.
technology. And then I feel like, what? I lost the first webinar. And now I was checking about the requirements about you show that if we don't have the 4 webinars, we don't receive diploma.
Don't worry. Can you please send us an email? Because there is something that we can do. Don't worry about the first webinar. We know that a lot of people here are new to the webinars. So we understand that, and certainly we can do something.
Okay, so I had to send what? I mail to you?
To the Teachers Up initiative. Sandra, do you have the?
Yes,
and explaining the situation.
Yeah, that you missed the first one and you would like to know how to proceed, and then we will answer that.
Yes, because I was expecting the first webinar, and then what happened? I felt like.
Oops, sorry. She's still there.
Can I share something?
Oh, yes.
A video. So one thing you have recording, right? So maybe one thing is ask the teacher to watch the recording. It's like an 10